Week 11 and our first rematch of the season with the Bears headed to Minnesota. Vikings 4-5 coming off that loss to the Ravens last week. Since this is a rematch and we're far enough along into the season, we're going to spend more time this week looking at the specific matchups rather than going deep into the opponent, coaches, and their whole situation. You guys know the Vikings at this point. But it is a noon game on Fox. It is the A crew for Fox. Tom Brady calling this game will make it more interesting. Vikings are a 3.5-point favorite. You're over under 48.5. Just looking back to week one, remember the Vikings were 1.5-point favorites at Soldier Field, now 3-point favorites at home. Of course, Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, those are the coaches. Brian Flores 4-1 against the Bears since he took over as the Vikings defensive coordinator. But against Ben Johnson, he's 1-4, that one win being back in week one. And this matchup between the coaching staffs is awesome. I'm very excited about it. Very quickly, we will mention EPA per play because Bears now in 10th in EPA per play offensively. A top 10 offense, believe it or not. Of course, the Minnesota defense, very good as well. They're 11th on the other side of the ball. Not as great. The Bears defense 21st. Vikings offense has really been struggling. They are 28th in EPA per play right now. We'll start on this side of the ball. And there's a lot to get to. I could probably spend 30 minutes going through this matchup between Ben Johnson and Brian Flores. The defense that Flores runs is just so interesting. The personnel is so key. Just a couple quick numbers off the top. Not only are the Bears 10th in EPA per play offensively, but EPA per dropback, also 10th. On the other hand, Vikings defense, they're 10th defensively, EPA per dropback. EPA per rush, Bears 13th. Vikings 18th. Success rate, Bears up to 15th in success rate, and the Vikings 11th. So this is a really good, evenly matched matchup between these two teams. And obviously, we're going to talk a lot about the blitz rate. We know Brian Flores blitzes a lot. They are the #1 team in the NFL in blitzing. 50% of the time, right down the middle. Half the time, they're going to bring a blitz. However, you go back to week one, and this has been a talking point this week, they only blitzed 34.9% in that game. So they dialed it back a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see how much pressure Brian Flores brings this time. It's a different matchup. Every time you get one of these rematches, it can go like that, and I think Ben Johnson's seen it both ways since he's gone up against Flores in Detroit as well. But what is also interesting, when the Bears do get blitzed, they handle it well. They're 5th in EPA when they're blitzed. When they're facing pressure, 3rd. That goes to what Caleb Williams doing under pressure, evading the rush, still making plays. It's not always perfect, but hey, when you're moving that ball forward, you're increasing your chances of scoring points. That's what EPA is all about. So that is a tough decision Brian Flores is going to have to make this week. How much pressure does he bring? Because the Bears typically make you pay for it. Now, real quick, starting to look like a hockey team out here with all these little injuries that the Bears are dealing with at their skill positions. Nothing new. It's been like this for weeks. Add a shoulder now to DJ Moore. Hip, groin, shoulder. Man, I almost wonder at some point, are they going to have to give him a week off? I don't think he's going to want to come off, but dealing with a lot here. Cole Kmet's back on the injury report with his back. He had a concussion a week ago, so he's been dealing with stuff. You know he's going to play through that. With DeAndre Swift, 1 week it's a hip, 1 week it's the groin, and Roma Dunze, ankle, heel. All these guys got little nagging things we'll have to continue to watch. They've been handling it well. For the first time this season, I went ahead and did it. And I am putting Luther Burden out there. Nice catch. Luther Burden out there instead of Olamide Zaccheaus. Everybody wants to see this at this point, and it does feel like Luther Burden's earned that opportunity. We'll see what that split ends up being. Obviously, they're both going to play. Maybe this can be a Luther Burden breakout game. Now, I want to get into what Minnesota does from a personnel standpoint. I'll try to do this as quickly as possible, but typically the offense dictates the personnel. You want to go with 12 personnel out there. The defensive coaches on the headsets from upstairs are saying 12, 12, 12 so that the defense can match up. They're going to take their nickel off. They're going to go base. If it's 11 personnel, typically, all right, 11, 11, 11, you get your nickel out there, and it's not that complicated. But the thing about Brian Flores is he uses a ton of different personnels defensively, and that means that offensively, you're not necessarily always dictating the defensive personnel. You can go 12, call your play, get up to the line of scrimmage, and you still have to diagnose what the Vikings have out there against you. And just to give you an idea, so let's start with Josh Metellus, because Josh Metellus, he is sort of a do-it-all. He'll play safety, he'll play nickel, he'll play linebacker. He's on the field, though, 100% of the time. And that is, you know, this is really the guy I think you got to watch to see where he lines up, because right now, technically, 3 safeties, as they get Theo Jackson back this week from a concussion, you'll see 3 safeties on the field all the time, but really Metellus lined up as the nickel back. Okay, if they take Jackson off, they're going to move Harrison Smith now back to free safety. They'll move Metellus back here, okay? And then Murphy sometimes will go inside, and you'll get Foster Moreau come in as the extra corner. That's one thing they can do. They'll also take Eric Wilson off the field. All of a sudden, now you got Metellus playing linebacker. You put 26 back out here. Harrison Smith goes back down into the strong safety spot. Another guy I think that really is going to play a huge role in this game is number 61, Jalen Redmond. He's been good for them. Dallas Turner, second-year edge rusher. We're thinking Jonathan Gennard's going to be out with the shoulder. That's huge. I don't feel like they trust Dallas Turner right now yet to be an every down edge player for them, similar to what the Bears are doing right now with Austin Booker. So what you'll see is you're not always going to see Dallas Turner out there. They'll bring 61 out here, obviously, as a heavier end, and then that's going to reduce the pass rush coming at you, obviously, if you're the Bears, but that also will allow them to stop the run better when they put Redmond out there. Another thing you can see, okay, let's keep Redmond out here. You'll just move Javon Hargrave over here. Now both A-gaps are open, but you'll see these linebackers come down here, fill both of those. So now all of a sudden you got a bunch of guys lined up at the line of scrimmage. How do the Bears handle it? First of all, it starts with the personnel. Who's on the field? Where is Metellus lined up? That's huge. What are these linebackers doing? Are they going to rush everybody? Are they going to show here and then drop back? We know they do that a ton. All of this stuff, pre-snap, post-snap, snap matters a ton. How Caleb Williams handles it. Typically, when Ben Johnson plays Brian Flores, he has the answers to the test. But it's a lot. It's a lot to process. There's a lot of answers you have to go through both pre and post snap. So for me, it all starts with communication. Get the play calls in fast, because in that loud environment at US Bank Stadium, if you don't get those play calls in fast, then everybody's behind. Now you're kind of scrambling at the line of scrimmage. What are you actually, do you have enough time to even diagnose all this? Can you put the guys in motion that you want to put in motion? Because that's going to declare the coverages a lot of the time. Do you end up with delay of games? How Caleb Williams handles it, but it starts with Ben Johnson getting the play call in fast, will be huge and help decide this game. And the last thing I'll mention here, though, deep ball EPA. If you can run the ball successfully, set up play action, the Vikings have struggled to stop the deep ball this season, which brings me back to this guy, Luther Burden. Can he get a deep shot in this game? Wouldn't shock me. What they do is fun, it's crazy, it's exotic, it's also unsound. And Ben Johnson's going to have solutions. Can Caleb Williams deliver it? Can Luther Burden, some of these wide receivers take advantage? All right, I know that was a lot, so we'll go quickly through this other side, the boring side of this matchup. This over here to me is like the best matchup in football this week. I'm just kidding. This isn't actually boring, but obviously these units aren't playing at the same level as the Bears offense versus the Vikings defense. To me, it doesn't come down to much more than this. I mean, you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. This guy, Jalen Nailor, man, he only has like 2 or 3 catches a week. Sometimes it's only 1, but he makes big plays. So you cannot lose Jalen Nailor, and he's done it against the Bears in the past as well. So, you know, the amount of pressure, and I really think this comes down to Dennis Allen pushing the buttons. When does he push the buttons? Because you can make the argument that you just sit back, okay? You just don't let these guys beat you over the top when they have an advantage against your secondary right now that's obviously been banged up. TJ Edwards doesn't really look like on Thursday morning like he's going to be able to go this week. All of these injuries the Bears have been dealing with, you could be conservative, sit back, and kind of wait for J.J. McCarthy to make a mistake. On the other side, you could heat him up. And this guy, Montez Sweat, man, this would be a great week for him to have his best game of the season. because you can also make the argument that you heat up J.J. McCarthy. It might lead to some big plays down the field, but it also could lead to some turnovers because he has been throwing interceptions at times since he's been back out there. So, not as much rocket science on this side of the ball in this matchup. How much can you make J.J. McCarthy uncomfortable? Can you create takeaways? Obviously, the Bears have been doing that all season. The Bears' takeaway differential is way, way better than what the Vikings have been this season. Again, though, I mentioned 32nd in the league deep EPA for the Vikings defense. Well, Bears are 31st. So how many big plays are in this game downfield? Who has more of them? It might end up deciding this football game. Man, this is going to be a fun one. I'm fired up for it. I think other than the Rams and Seahawks, this is the best game of the weekend, specifically when it comes to this matchup. Brian Flores versus Ben Johnson. Can't wait.